Is Francisco Lindor overrated? He's hitting just 222 right now. Since he's been in New York, he's played subpar. In Cleveland, he hit 285 during his tenure there. He also had 3 consecutive seasons where he hit 30-plus home runs. He was a 4-time All-Star over in Cleveland, and he also had multiple top 10 MVP finishes. Since he's been in New York, he has yet to make an All-Star team, and like I said, so far in 2023, he has gotten off to a lackluster start. If the Mets want to go anywhere in 2023, they're going to need their $300 million shortstop to get things going very quickly, or things are going to get out of hand for the New York Mets this season. All right, let's get right into it. The Mets are 1 game below 500, 7 games back of the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves look like one of the best teams in baseball. And the New York Mets, well, quite frankly, they just look flat, subpar. Their pitching sucks. Their offense is flat and stale right now. You know what happens when Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor don't show up? They suck. They suck. Right now, Lindor is batting .217, and I'm going to call him out for it every single bit. You want to know why? Because he's making $341 million, and he shouldn't be hitting .217. I don't want to hear the bullcrap WRC plus stats. Shut up with it. He sucks this year. No other better way to put it. He's not playing up to Lindor standards. If you're going to give me any other crap that he is, then you just don't know baseball, because it's the only other way to put it. That means you think Francisco Lindor is good hitting .217. If you think Lindor is good and he's hitting .217, then that really shows me what you actually think of Francisco Lindor, because I think of him as the 4-time All-Star, as the guy that had multiple top 10 MVP finishes, as the guy that once had 3 consecutive seasons with 30-plus home runs. I don't care if it was the juice ball era. Dude, shut up with that bull crap. The juice ball era I could give you so many guys where their stats have improved after the juiced ball era. I mean, Aaron Judge, there was no juice ball last year. Look what he did. Now, I'm not saying Lindor has to be Aaron Judge. No, but he can do better than .217. Last year, Lindor, that was honestly a great year. It was a great year, and it was nothing more that you could ask for a little bit more, 100%, like maybe batting average increase, the OPS increase. But right now, he's looking worse than he did in his first season with the Mets. And yes, his RBIs, they're up because Brandon Nimmo is scorching hot right now, and he's always on base. And same thing with Jeff McNeil. Well, I mean, sometimes McNeil is in front of him, but rarely. There's guys on base for Lindor. There's guys on base for Alonso. So just because they have a lot of RBIs and Alonso had 11 home runs to start the year, it doesn't mean they're playing good. Alonso in his last 15 games, he's hitting below 200. He's hitting 164. When these two guys are silent, the Mets suck. There's no other better way to put it. I mean, what do you expect when your 2 best players don't show up, especially when the pitching is what it has been? And Starlin Marte has been hurt with like his head injuries now too. And then last year, we obviously know he went down with that hand injury. So maybe it's still bothering him. I don't know. From the year, Marte just does not look the same. The only one who's playing good is Nimmo. McNeil has been playing all right. Then you got Brett Beatty and Francisco Alvarez. The only 2 that are actually showing a little bit of life. Kodai Senga, he pitched great the other night. That was nice to see. He still had 4 walks, though. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit soon. But the pitching sucks. The bullpen, we're relying on David Robertson way too much. Way too much. We're relying on Adam Ottavino, obviously, and Drew Smith. But outside of Otto and Robertson, because I know a lot of Mets fans do not trust Drew Smith, this Mets team is lost. They got a lot of holes. Maybe call up Ronnie Mauricio, mix things up a little bit. Maybe even call up, I don't know, Mark Vientos. Why not? He's been popping off in AAA. But the Mets have an issue. Their 2 best guys are not playing up to their standards. And until that happens, then the Mets will be below 500. And listen, 7 games back right now. Now, I know it's early, but also it's not really early. It's May 7th. It is May 7th. And we are already 7 games back. Already 7 games back. So why don't you look at it the other way around? And I hate the fans who are saying, "Oh well, the Phillies. Oh, look at them last year, and look at the Braves a couple years ago. Look at the Nationals a couple years ago. They turned it around in the second half." Why does that mean the New York Mets will? Does that guarantee the New York? Because I can give you a long, long history of the New York Mets history. Their history sucks. I said history, the past like 7 words. The Mets are not a guarantee for the playoffs just because they had a great 2022. I'm going to get that right out. Like, that's got to be clear. That's got to be clear. Same thing goes for the Yankees, too. Both of those teams have holes. The Mets especially. They need to find a new DH. The fact that Mark Hanna is their everyday left fielder when they have a $364 million payroll is outright ridiculous. Brett Beatty did look good, though, today. I want to talk about the kids. But before I do talk about the kids, let me get the rest of the bad off. Max Scherzer and the pitching as a whole has sucked. Besides Kodai Senga the other night. He pitched great. I got to give it to Senga. 6 innings, not a single run allowed. 1-0 win. Him and Nimmo really carried us to that victory that night. But Senga alone, he was dominant. You saw the strikeouts that he had at the guy's ankles. He's definitely playing up to par. He's got only a 3.3 ERA right now, 4-1 on the year. So look for Kodai Senga to continue to do well. But Max Scherzer, I'm alarmed. Dating back to his last 10 starts last year, he has over a 4 ERA. And it's not like Verlander looked good. I'm not gonna lie. After the first inning, Verlander looked really good. But Scherzer, he's looked a mess, dude. A straight mess all year. All of his starts. Even the one where he did get ejected in, he was doing pretty good with Francisco Alvarez. He had a good repertoire with him. But early on, he was struggling too. So what is going on with Scherzer? That's what I want to ask Mets fans. What do we think is going on with Max Scherzer? 2-2 and a 5.56 ERA. Is he falling off the cliff? The cliff that Max Kellerman invented? So, I don't know. Max Scherzer's definitely we got to get answers on what's going on with him. He needs to figure out ASAP, whether it's mechanical, whether it's, I don't know. But he's a great pitcher. Don't get me wrong. But he has not done anything for the Mets. He pitched. Yeah, he had the career best ERA last year, but how many innings did he throw? How many starts did he throw? And what did he do down the stretch in his most important starts? Getting paid $40+ million. We're paying you for the big moments. We're not paying you to get a career best ERA. We're paying you, that's Steve Cohen is paying you to show up in the biggest of games. And he didn't show up against the Atlanta Braves. He didn't show up against the San Diego Padres. And now to start this year, it's been nothing but terrible. I was talking about it before the year even started. Max Scherzer, he has a lot of pressure on him. Ultimately, probably the most pressure on any Met going into this season. And he's done nothing but wet the bed in all of his starts so far. So Scherzer's got to get it together. This whole entire pitching staff has to get it together. Joey Lucchesi was a mess tonight. He looked great in his first start, and we were all hyped about him. But since then, he's sucked. Kodai Senga and Justin Verlander are my only 2 positives in the rotation. I think those two will get things going. Verlander and Senga, I'm confident in putting together good seasons and consistent starts here, then in and then out. But Scherzer, I don't know. He's got to prove it to me. It's an alarming problem, especially when you're 38 years old. But let's talk about the kids, because Francisco Alvarez, especially in his last 10 games, hitting .308. He had a nice little double off the wall today. Brett Beatty even had a nice day at the plate, too. He had a nice RBI at the plate. So these Mets kids, they're scorching hot. Maybe it could convince Billy Epler and Buck Showalter to get Mark Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio from AAA, because they've been scorching hot down there. And this Mets lineup, every Mets fan know it could use a jolt, especially when you have guys hitting under 230 like Mark Hanna. And also, Vogie, what are you doing rounding second base? Getting out like the base running mistakes the past few days have been outright ridiculous. And that's on Buck Showalter partly. But Vogelback, I love Vogie. He's great. He's a meme, but he's a bench player. He's not a DH. He's not a guy with pop. We got to call up the kids. Francisco Alvarez also, when Omar Narvaez comes back, Tomas Nido, send him away. Send him away. Shout out Nelson, Amish Country Mets fan. He's been on it literally all year. Nido, get him off the roster. He's been on this team for way too long. He did us great last year in the second half, and that was great. We got a little bit out of Nido, but that's it. That's all we need. Okay? He did his job. He had a good little Mets run, but listen, he is not an everyday catcher in the major leagues. And quite frankly, he was a backup at one point, but at this point in his career, Nido does not even look like a backup catcher. So when Narvaez comes back, he needs to be the backup catcher, and Alvarez, he needs to be the everyday. He needs to be the everyday catcher. Why am I not saying that? He needs to be the everyday catcher, even when Narvaez comes back. Even though Narvaez was hitting 286 before he went down with the injury. And his pitch framing, too, has been off the charts. Shout out Shea and Sons, even though you guys, took a little personal, took the Francisco Lindor video personal, even though I wasn't, trying to make things personal. But shout out those guys. They pointed out earlier today a great stat. Francisco Alvarez in his pitch framing and defensively, he's been one of the best catchers, I think, like third in the league in that particular stat. So like looking at Francisco Alvarez coming into this season, what were the question marks? It was defense. Everybody knew what this guy could do at the plate. But behind the plate, what was he going to perform like? Well, defensively, he showed Buck Showalter, I think, because Buck's been playing him a lot more. And he showed Mets fans especially that he's worked on it. And offensively, I think every Mets fan knew, like, okay, yeah, it's going to come. It's going to come. Earlier on in the year, I was pissed at what he was swinging at terrible pitches. Terrible pitches. I was saying put him back down in AAA because he's not ready for the moment. Well, he proved me wrong. He's 308 in his last 10 games, over a 400 on base percentage in his last 10 games. That double off the wall looked great, and I think that power is going to start coming. It is going to start coming, and I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it. He's very young, and defensively, like I said, it was the one question mark, and he put that to rest. And the offense is picking up, and if we can get this production out of our catcher consistently, that's going to be a huge plus for the Mets. The only thing is pitching and our two big boppers in the middle of the lineup. Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor. Step it up because the kids, they're doing their part. Nimmo and McNeil, they're doing their part. Marte, I mean, yeah, he's hurt, but we can't just put it all on Marte being hurt. It's really the pitching and Lindor and Alonso. That's why the Mets are in this run right now. There's no other better way to put it. Bullpen sucks. Getting overused. Now, the bullpen partly sucks because the starting rotation can't go past 5 innings unless your name is Kodai Senga or Justin Verlander. So that's why the bullpen does suck. But it is nice to see that Francisco Alvarez is playing good. The Mets, though, 17-18. What we got in the comments? Larry Berger, shout out Zin Spit. Bobby, how you doing, man? How we doing, Bonesy? I love that name, Zin Spit. All right. Let's talk some Yankees because Harrison Bader went off today. The Yankees still lost, though. 8-7. Their last place still in the AL East. Not looking too great. Tampa Bay Rays obviously looking too great. Harrison Bader, though, since he's been back, 389 batting average. You see it right there. 846 OPS, which is on base plus slugging for you idiots. Listen, man, the Yankees, when Aaron Judge comes back this Tuesday, like he's expected to, you're looking at an outfield of Bader probably shifting in and out like Oswaldo Cabrera. You also, IFK hasn't really been playing that much, which is a nice thing. Aaron Hicks also has been out there as well. But Judge and Bader in that outfield, and then once Stanton gets back, you're looking at an outfield of Stanton, Bader, and Judge, and that's going to be a powerhouse outfield. That has to stay healthy, though. That's the key. If that outfield stays healthy, it's one of the best outfields in all of baseball. And with the way that Anthony Rizzo has been playing, DJ LeMahieu too, he's been all right. You got 5 legitimate guys in that Yankees lineup who can provide you a lot of production offensively. And then Gleyber Torres, he is what he is, but you can put him in the bottom of the lineup. He's not going to kill you. And he shows you where he can get hot too. So that's another plus. At any moment, Gleyber Torres could just pop out to be the 2019 or 2018 Gleyber Torres, which is great. You've seen it sometimes this year and sometimes last year. But if you have those 5 guys healthy, the Yankees lineup is good. So I'm not really worried about the Yankees. They're last place right now, yes. And the division, it might seem out of reach right now with the way that the Rays are playing and that the Rays are looking. But it is early. It is very early. And the Rays, they're not like the Braves. Whereas the Braves, they're one of the best teams in baseball, undoubtedly. The Rays, we don't know. They could 100% be one of the best teams in baseball, as they do look. Let's be real, they do look like it, and they probably are. But at the same time, they haven't proved anything in the playoffs, and they haven't really proved anything like recently. They haven't proved anything in the playoffs. And the Yankees, I think they proved more than the Rays in the past few years. I mean, yeah, they got swept by the Houston Astros and they keep losing to them, but it's in the ALCS. So the Yankees have proved more than the Astros. We got another comment. What's up? Rays on top. Rays are on top for now. But at least you got Aaron Judge coming back. You got some reinforcements with Harrison Bader and Judge coming back, which is huge. Judge, he's hitting 261 and 6 home runs in just 26 games this season. That's going to be a huge plus getting him back because, like I said, when you have Judge and Harrison Bader in that lineup, and then you add the fact that DJ LeMahieu and, like I said, Anthony Rizzo, they've been playing very good this season. And then, like I said, Gleyber Torres, he has the ability to go off in stretches. And then you have Oswaldo Cabrera, who I do like. And then Volpe, if he can get it going, and I think, too, having Judge back, too, having a huge protected lineup for him, it will really help him. So I think this Yankees lineup, it has a lot of potential. A lot of potential. So I think they're more like the team that you can say, hey, look at the Phillies. Hey, look at the Braves last year. Hey, look at the Nationals. Like the Mets, you can't say that about because the Mets, they've only made the postseason 3 times since 2015. 3 times. Obviously, it's way different for the Yankees. And the Yankees, I mean, Garrett Cole, yeah, he sucked today. He let up 5 earned runs today. He did have 6 strikeouts, 2 walks in 5 innings. So Garrett Cole was a little off today. But at the same time, he was the best pitcher in baseball for his first 5 starts. So I'm not really worried about Garrett Cole too much. And the Tampa Bay Rays are pretty good. So you have a bad start here and there. Whatever. His ERA is still a 2.08, and he's still a 4-1 pitcher on the year. He's a beast. Not worried about Garrett Cole at all. And like I said, once this lineup comes back to full health, full strength, they're going to be rolling. A couple moves at the deadline. I think this Yankees team is chilling. They'll definitely get a wild card spot. I think they will definitely get a wild card spot. I mean, look, dude, the Mets are 17 and 18, second place in the division. Yankees are 17 and 16, last place. So their division is much harder. You got to have that into account too. So, and they're definitely going to get past the Red Sox. I mean, we can all agree on that. I think they can get by the Orioles. The Blue Jays, they will catch up to. And then, hey, maybe you can catch the Rays. But with Aaron Judge returning Tuesday, I think the Yankee fans should be very, very, very excited, obviously, getting their MVP back, getting in my eyes, the home run record, the only guy who didn't use roids. I love Barry Bonds, and he was a beast, but he did use steroids to get those home runs, so I'm not going to lie. Judge is my guy with the home run record. The Yanks got to get it going. And listen, you Aaron Boone haters, don't hate on Aaron Boone, dude. The fact that the Yanks are where, like I said, they're 17 and 16 right now, last place in the division, but it's also because they're in one of the best divisions in baseball this year. And they're missing their former MVP. It's really Brian Cashman, who just built this team straight up around Aaron Judge. He was like, Aaron Judge, please carry this team, please. And then Judge gets hurt, and look at them, they suck. And Rodon gets hurt, they suck, obviously. Luis Severino gets hurt, they suck, right? But they don't really suck because Aaron Boone is actually figuring out ways to win. He's shifting guys around in the lineup, putting Anthony Volpe up to the leadoff spot, being bold, showing confidence in him. That's a great sign for a young player like Volpe. A guy like Aaron Boone, a former player, showing a lot of confidence in you. And then DJ LeMahieu obviously starting to catch it up a little bit. And Rizzo, I mean, he was really hot to start the year. He cooled off a little bit, but he's starting to pick it up again. He is starting to pick it up again. So Yankees fans, get excited. He did put up 7 runs today at the end of the day. The pitching, I mean, really, you would have won this game if Garrett Cole pitched like Garrett Cole. That's the thing. Garrett Cole pitches like Garrett Cole. You beat the Tampa Bay Rays today. Simple as that. Yankees will be fine. Going to take a quick break. Going to talk some New York Knicks game 4 against the Miami Heat next. I got a new commercial for you guys today. Little Top Bunk Sports talking New York Knicks with me. But Josh Hart, 13.5 points per game, shooting 60% from the field, 1.5 steals per game, 6.8 rebounds per game right now during the postseason. How has he impacted the Knicks winning-wise? And overall, how do you think he's just gelled with this team, especially Jalen Brunson?
Oof, I mean, Nova Boys, that's what it is. He fit right in. He fit right in. The narrative that it was a good pickup, but it wasn't a solid pick. It wasn't a great pickup because we had to give up a first round. I mean, he's putting that to bed. He's putting that to bed. He's gelling well with the guys. The guys love him. I mean, he's played with Julius Randle before when they were on the Lakers. He's played with Jalen Brunson when they were in Villanova. Like I said, Nova Boys. And again, he is a veteran that understands his presence. He knows that he's a really good defender. He knows that he can score. He knows that he can make everybody else better. And you saw that his first couple games, and after that, he is a big piece to this team. He is one of the reasons why the Knicks are where they're at. The Knicks finished where they were able to finish in the 5th seed because of his presence and what he was able to do on and off the ball, like on both sides of the ball. So I think he benefits well. You saw both in game 3 and game 4 what he was able to do defensively, how he was able to score. I mean, he takes it to the basket, and at the end of the day, these guys love him. I think what benefit, a lot of people are always talking about, oh, is Josh Hart going to start? I've always said, don't start him. If he comes off the bench and he's a big bench piece, because we didn't have a bench piece like that, and he helps these young guys, it's going to work out. And you've seen that since he's been here in that trade. He's been such a big key, not only for the bench, but when he stays there in that starting role, he helps Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson finds him. He moves the ball well. He goes after every offensive rebound and defensive rebound. Like, this kid is a juggernaut in the paint. So at the end of the day, he's been very, very, very helpful. He's been a big key to this team. I would not be surprised if the Knicks get him in the summer. They pick up his contract in the summer. And at the end of the day, like I said, he's going to be a very big key, especially now that if there's a possibility that Miami beats the Bucks and we end up, finishing this round with beating Cleveland and we play Miami, he is going to be a very big key in locking down Jimmy Butler. And I have confidence that he will, because of the fact that he's locked down a lot of, key big players in his career. So I think, he's been a very, very good pickup, has surprised a lot of people. And there's nothing that I can say about him, about his game, about how he's gelled with the Knicks. He's been a perfect pickup for the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying right there, I agree with 100%. Defensively, I think he provides so much. All right, I'm back. What is up, guys? Shout out Top Bunk Sports, by the way. Finally got another commercial up. Well, my commercials, So it's not just Wardy that I always got to show you guys, even though Wardy, always a good guy. Check out Wardy New York Mets, and make sure you check out Top Bunk Sports as well. And also make sure you check out that video of us talking a little bit of Knicks as well. And he did call it. Jimmy Butler was going to be one of the main guys coming at us New York Knicks in round 2. So now that we are talking about the New York Knicks, let me pop it up on the right side of my screen. Before we do get into my keys, let's talk about Julius Randle's performance in game 3. The fact that he only had 10 points, 4 turnovers. He did have a lot of rebounds. I think he had like a -6 overall in the plus-minus column. So Randle, he's got to get it going. I'm looking at him in game 4 because this Knicks team, it runs through him. When even Top Bunk, he was talking about it with me on the show a couple weeks ago, when Randall is showing energy on the court, the whole entire Knicks roster, all those younger players, they play with so much more fire. It lights a fire under them when they see the guy who averaged 25 a night and over 10 rebounds a night play his ass off. When he's going out there blocking Donovan Mitchell for a chase down block, even when it's not necessarily a great offensive night for him, you're going to see guys like RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin and even Josh Hart, even though he's going all out every single night, you're going to see him go all out. So I'm looking at Julius Randle. He's one of my main keys. I'm going to get into a little bit later, but I also expect him to bounce back too, because I don't think he's really had back-to-back bad games since the first 2 games of the series. Excuse me. But even in the first game, he dropped 19 points in his first playoff game this year. Game 2, he really struggled in, and then he got hurt. And then when he was coming back in the one game, he was on pace for a triple-double, went down with the injury. And then obviously game 2, he went off. But then game 3, 10 points, 4 turnovers, -6. So we got to see Randle step it up, because I don't want that the narrative to come out that Julius Randle is a bad postseason player. Because right now, you look at his postseason numbers, they ain't that pretty. But he can affect the game in numerous other ways besides on the offensive side. Like David from Top Bunk was pointing out, the chase down block from Donovan Mitchell. I know I said it a million times, but that's what we want to see. Or the rebound late in the game when Quentin Grimes made those late game free throws. That was huge. Stuff like that. Or making passes. Game 2, when Julius Randle was coming out, he was looking all over the floor, playing unselfish basketball. He was doing it in the first half of game 1 against the Cleveland Cavaliers too. We need to see Julius Randle just, I think, take things a little bit slower, but also still keep the pace up, obviously, and play hard and play with the firepower. But at the same time, take it one possession at a time, because I think at some moments he just looks up at the box score and he'll see, oh, I have 6 points right now in the second quarter. What the hell? And then he'll just start trying to force it. We can't have Randle force it, because every Knicks fan everybody knows when Randle starts to force it, that's when the Knicks start to suck. So we can't have Randle force it. Randle plays unselfish basketball. The Knicks do that much better. And the Heat, they only have Jimmy Butler. I love Bam Adebayo. I love him. He's a great talent. But Jimmy Butler is the only one I'm worried about. And we got to stop with the perimeter 3-point shots. Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, they're raining from three. Got to stop that. So, and also, I'm also looking at RJ Barrett too a little bit, because he struggled a lot too in game 3 as well. And Jalen Brunson too only scored 20 points. The whole entire Knicks team struggled. Mitchell Robinson only 14 minutes. Maybe we got to see him on the court a little bit more. I don't know. I know he's slow with Bam, but I don't know. Something to think about. Especially when Hartenstein was like a -20 something. Emmanuel Quickley's also got to get it going. He had 12 points in that game, but he's got to get it going too. So game 3 was a complete mess. But keys to game 4. Here is my first key. Always been doing these 3 keys. I think last time the Knicks might have lost because of my 3 keys. I said 3 keys were 3 players, but this time I only got 1 player in my key. Key number 1, 3-point shots. We went 8 of 40 from behind the arc in game 3. That was obviously one of the key factors in that loss. Got to hit our 3-point shots. And if we're not hitting them, get to the basket. Get to the basket so we can open up, so we can have more open 3-point shots. And obviously more open 3-point shots are easier to knock down rather than when a guy's in your face. So drive to the basket and drive and kick or something. I don't know. Spread the floor. Get the pace up. Let's go. Got to hit the threes. Got to hit our shots. Key number 2, rebounds. When we let up offensive rebounds, when the Miami Heat get that many second chance buckets, the Knicks will lose. The Knicks will lose by over 20 points when the Miami Heat grab that many offensive rebounds. So we need to control the rebounds defensively. And yes, offensively, we are great on the offensive side of the rebound, on the offensive side of the glass. You know, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and Isaiah Hartenstein always grabbing offensive rebounds. But on the defensive side, we need to see more from everybody. Everybody. Not just Josh Hart crashing the paint. Sometimes we see Jalen Brunson even trying to snag defensive rebounds. We got to see everybody crashing the glass, in my opinion. That's my key number 2 for game 4. And key number 3. That's why I put him up there. R.J. Barrett. When RJ Barrett plays well, just like when Julius Randle plays well, this Knicks team plays exceptionally well. And RJ Barrett, he has X factor potential. We saw it last year when he popped off for over 45 points against the Miami Heat in the regular season. We need a big RJ Barrett game. He had a big game in the Cleveland series. He's due for a big game this series. So in game 4, I think my my third key is RJ Barrett. Big game RJ Barrett needs to show up game 4. The Knicks need him badly. I'm not saying he played terrible in this series so far. He's actually played pretty good in this series besides game 3. But the Knicks need him because RJ Barrett has that X factor potential. And Jalen Brunson, I have confidence that he'll return and get his buckets. I have confidence that Julius Randle might be able to turn around and get those buckets. But RJ Barrett, I have confidence in him that'll turn it around. But if he can do more than his average in the playoffs so far, which lately has been like in that 20 to 25 range, if he can eclipse that and go for a 30-plus point game tomorrow night, the Knicks will be big chilling. The Knicks will be able to pull off a Game 4 victory, tie up the series, bring it back home, and let's get the job done. Knicks in 6. Let's get a Game 4 victory. Let's get a Game 5 victory, and let's go back to Cleveland and win in Cleveland. If you want to bring it back to MSG for a Game 7, hey, I'm all for it. I'm definitely not going because Knicks tickets, especially in the playoffs, are ridiculously expensive. I do not know how Brian Madden, shout out you, dude. Madden be at almost every single Knicks playoff game. Jesus. I don't know how you be doing it, man. But let's go. We got to finish this series off, take control back. Tibbs, make the adjustments that need to be made. Mitchell Robinson, hopefully he plays more than 15 minutes. Hopefully Julius Randle scores more than 10 points. And hopefully RJ Barrett can pick things up for the New York Knicks and be that X factor that every fan knows he has the potential to be. So let's talk about football now. Who has more pressure, Brian Daboll or Rob Saleh as the head coach? Quick transition. Smooth. That was smooth. That wasn't smooth. Aaron Rodgers, now obviously the quarterback of the New York Jets. High expectations, Super Bowl or bust, 100%. Next 2 seasons. He'll be here for 2 years. But Rob Saleh now, obviously the Jets were 7-4 at one point last year. Finished the season 7-10. Terrible way to end the year. 6 straight losses. Not pretty. Now with Aaron Rodgers, now with a top 5 receiving room, in my opinion, Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman, Corey Davis, we're loaded. Tyler Conklin, CJ Uzomah, and then obviously Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and then your offensive line. You know, Rob Saleh was saying Mekhi Becton today. He's going to have the chance to earn that tackle spot. Then you got Vera Tucker. They brought in a center too as well to protect Rodgers. The Jets are really doing a lot to provide this guy with a lot of offense. Give him weapons, something that the Packers haven't done for him. So that's exciting. And then the defense, obviously, is already top 5. But there's one guy, I think, who has more pressure than anybody, including Aaron Rodgers next season, and that's Rob Saleh. Because let's say the Jets go like 10-7. That's still an underperformance. Unless they win the Super Bowl, they could shut up the regular season and shut the door on a subpar regular season with an elite postseason. But Rob Saleh has a lot of pressure. The Jets are like a first-round exit in the playoffs after a subpar postseason. He might be fired because you know Rodgers is going to come back. It ain't going to be Saleh, though. So I'm looking at Rob Saleh a lot. You know, obviously he had a lot of pressure on him. He had the receipts comments back over in the early start of 2022. But, you know, you got your quarterback now. You got your quarterback. You've had your defense. You built it up the past 2 seasons to a top 5 level defense. Now you got your offense. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with this New York Jets team? How are we going to respond to the 6 straight losses, to basically the collapse of last season? How are we going to respond in 2023, now with a 4-time MVP as our quarterback, with Garrett Wilson, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Sauce Gardner. Obviously, like I said before, top 5 defense. Quentin Williams coming back. He's an all-pro defensive lineman. CJ Mosley. Carl Lawson. I could go on and on. This Jets team is loaded. Joe Douglas has done a great job building this team, and I am so pumped for the NFL to start up in September. And yeah, the Jets play the Giants this year, not just in the preseason, but the regular season too. So I'm amped for that. Let's talk about the Giants too. Can Danny Jones throw over 4,000 yards? Let's talk. I haven't been talking with Giants recently, but I'm going to do some over-unders next show. That's going to be fun. Going to set some over-unders for guys like not just Daniel Jones, but Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller. I'm going to set some for him. Isaiah Hodgson. But way too early Giants predictions. Some bold predictions off the top of my head. I think Daniel Jones has the potential to throw for 4,000 plus yards. Now with Darren Waller on his side. Isaiah Hodgson, I do like him. I do really like Hodgson. I'm not going to lie. I think he has a lot of potential. Obviously, in the second half of last season, he popped off in a nice way for the Giants. A pickup from the Bills practice squad. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll knew a lot about him with his time in Buffalo. So they liked the talent. They brought him over to pair him up with Daniel Jones. Earned himself not just a spot, but he guaranteed himself a spot heading into this year. So good for him. Happy for him. And I think he's got potential. He's a good talent. He works hard. And we see it all the time. Receivers, they don't necessarily need to be a top draft pick to turn out to be a top receiver in the league. I'm not saying Isaiah Hodgson will be a top 5 wide receiver or even a top 10 wide receiver, but he can be a number 1 for the New York Giants. Darren Waller's got to obviously add a lot. 2 consecutive seasons he had with 1,100 plus yards over in Las Vegas. Well, Oakland, when there was in Oakland. So this Giants team has a lot of improvements. Saquon Barkley obviously coming in, the improved offensive line. Andrew Thomas, obviously one of the best offensive linemen in all of football. Dexter Lawrence just got paid big time. So this Giants team, they got to make the playoffs again, 100%. If they don't, it will be considered a failed season. And listen, they can't get blown out to the Philadelphia Eagles like they did in the second round of last year. They just cannot. Because, yeah, they had a great game against the Minnesota Vikings, but then you face the real team, a team that's a reality check. The Philadelphia Eagles showed the New York Giants you are nowhere close to a Super Bowl contender. Now, in the same stadium, the Jets are a Super Bowl contender. So Giants fans, they're a little bit jealous. 100%, I get it. I get it, Joey Richter. You're a little bit jealous that the Giants have a guy who can only throw 15 passing touchdowns. I get it. But I'm just messing with you. Daniel Jones, I think he has the potential to go for 4,000 plus yards if you account rushing into it. Obviously, he had 4,000 plus this year when you counted rushing into it. But I'm talking like 4,500 yards probably. Daniel Jones has to take that next step if he wants to live up to what Giants fans are talking to him about. I think he's got the talent right now. I was talking about with Chris from What's the Static Pod on it. I think Daniel Jones sits at like that 12 to 15 range, and he can take that step into the top 10 range. I don't think he's a overly talented quarterback, but at the end of the day, he's an athlete. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks in this league. He doesn't have a cannon, but he's accurate. And he's smart. He makes good decisions. He's a hard worker. First to show up in the building. Great leader of the team. So he's a good quarterback. I'm not going to lie. But now that you got paid, you got to put the numbers up. Got to put the numbers up. But yeah, one last note though before I do end the show. On the New York Mets. Tomorrow's an off day, so we're going to be going live on the Mets way. Shout out Jared, shout out Josh, shout out Drew. Make sure you check out that channel and subscribe to it. But I want to get one last thing off about the Mets that I forgot to get off. The New York Mets, if they don't make the postseason this year, Buck Showalter should be fired. 100%. I think if the Mets are sitting at like 500 come August, you got to think about pulling the trigger on Buck. But then again, that's only because managers are always scapegoated. I do love Buck. I have confidence in Buck. But then again, this team has high expectations. $364 million invested into this roster. And they are 17-18, 7 games back of where they want to be. When you invest that much into a project and it wets the bed this badly, there needs to be changes. Brett Beatty hitting 5th in the lineup today. That was great. So either I'm looking at Billy Epler, make some roster changes, or I'm looking at Buck. Because those two guys, they need to be held accountable just as much as the players do. Just as much as the players do. But that's all I got for today. Yo, what's up? Nelson. Popped in late. It's all good. It's all good. I was just getting on Buck because I got on the players a little bit. I got on Alonso, got on Lindor. I obviously got on Max Scherzer. But I was just pointing out, man, Billy Epler, he needs to make the decisions on who needs to be on this roster because Mark Hanna, obviously struggling a lot. Eduardo Escobar, obviously we all know what's going on with him. Decisions need to be made. Vogie, the base running mistakes. Yeah, he gets on base a lot, but what is he really providing us? Mark Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio are tearing it up. Beatty and Alvarez are proving that just because they're young, it doesn't affect anything. They're ready. You can make a case that Beatty and Alvarez, they've been our best players the past 10 games. So, the 3 rookies, Kodai Senga, Francisco Alvarez, and Brett Beatty. I know Kodai Senga is an older rookie, but still, the 3 rookies for the New York Mets are our 3 best players right now. And Brandon Nimmo, obviously. But really, it's a simple fix for the New York Mets. You got to get the pitching needs to be fixed. That's number 1. Pitching needs to be fixed. Number 2, the 2 big boppers, Alonso and Lindor. They got to get going. Obviously, I put it up earlier. Lindor 217 on the year and Alonso 164 in his last 15 games. So both those guys got to step it up because we need those guys. This lineup isn't going to really produce, especially with Starlin Marte and the injuries with him. So either we need, and I was watching a new Mets content creator today, actually. Hayden is his name. He was good. He was pointing out that, I forgot what he pointed out actually off the top of my head now. Why am I blanking? He was pointing out that the Mets, when you look at their roster, what are they built around? Obviously pitching and hitting. And then you look at their lineup, obviously, your strength is pitching, so your lineup isn't hitting. I mean, your strength isn't hitting. So your lineup, it's really just small ball guys. You got McNeil, you got Linda, you got Nimmo, you got Marte, even though Marte's been struggling. And now you're banking on Beatty, a rookie. You're banking on Alvarez, a rookie. And I love the idea of Mauricio and Vientos coming up. And Vientos could maybe be a nice little power bat. And if Alvarez gets it going, he could be that power bat. But outside of Alonso and Lindor, who's hitting home runs on the Mets? You look at the Atlanta Braves lineup, everybody's hitting home runs 1 through 9. You look at the Dodgers lineup, almost everyone's hitting home runs 1 through 9. You got to hit home runs nowadays. You can't win with the small ball. You can't win trying to get guys like Daniel Vogelback on base. You can't win trying to freaking you can't win telling Daniel Vogelback to try to get on base instead of hit a home, try to hit for power. I mean, we moved in the right field wall, and we're like, what's the approach that we're telling these guys to do? That's my, I completely agree with Hayden there when he was made. Moves need to be made. Let the kids cook. 100%. 100%. Because at this point, if we're going to be 17-18, if we are going to fall, I'd rather fall with the kids. And honestly, I think the kids could really help this team. I think the kids could provide a jolt. And you know what? Maybe the youth infusion could really help the older pitchers like Max Scherzer. I don't know. Maybe being around a guy like Ronnie Mauricio a little bit more. Or maybe being a guy imagine having Ronnie, Beatty, Alvarez, and Vientos all in this lineup, all in the dugout with Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor. Those 4 guys in the dugout with those guys and a manager named Buck Showalter, as accomplished as he is, that would be great. Great for them. As much as we hate on Buck, as much as I hate on Lindor and Alonso just now, as much as I hate on Scherzer, as much as, some Mets fans has hated on Verlander, not a lot. It's just really, come pitch, man. Come get healthy. Being in the dugout with those accomplished baseball players, that would be tremendous to start their careers off with. So that's another plus I think that could really help them this year. And pitching above all else, we can't win if we're down big every game, and that's a fact. That is a fact. Like the lineup, I think the lineup the past few seasons, we all know we're going to have nights where we just can't score a run. We'll go down 2-0, 3-0, and it will really feel like hell just to get a guy on base. We're Mets fans. We know when those nights, we know those nights. But the pitching is definitely the problem. It's definitely the problem. And a $364 million payroll. Well, the Braves are the Braves with a much less payroll. I'm not sure exactly what their payroll is, but there's not even another team in the $300 million the realm. So it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we are 7 games back of the Atlanta Braves. Steve Cohen has to be pissed. Has to be pissed. This team misses the playoffs this year. I'd be scared if I was a Mets employee. But that's all I got today. Going to be going live tomorrow, probably, maybe not. I don't know. Going to make up my mind a little bit later. But deuces.